Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Lily.
And I'm James. Really glad you're here today.
Okay, so James, I want to ask you something kind of personal.
How personal?
Not that personal. Okay, how many actual friends do you have?
Define actual.
Like people you'd call if something went wrong, not just people you follow on Instagram.
Genuinely? Maybe 4? 5 if I'm being generous?
Same. And I used to think that was sad, but now I think it's just adult life.
You've stumbled onto today's topic.
I have. Making friends as an adult. Why is it so much harder than it used to be?
So, when did you last actually make a new friend, like from scratch?
2 years ago, I met someone at a pottery class and we just clicked.
Pottery class. Very Lily.
It was, and I loved it. But it took months before I felt like she was a real friend, not just someone I saw on Thursdays.
That's the thing, isn't it? As a kid, you just sat next to someone at lunch and that was it, friends.
Forever friends sometimes. My best friend from second grade still texts me.
And now you have to schedule a coffee 3 weeks in advance, have a perfectly pleasant time, and then not see each other again for 2 months.
That is exactly what happens. That's so depressing.
A little. But I also think we put too much pressure on it.
Okay, but why was it easier before? Like what actually changed?
Proximity and repetition, mostly.
Say that like a normal person, James.
Fine. When you're at school, you see the same people every single day. You don't choose them. You just keep showing up in the same place and eventually you become close.
And that repetition builds trust without you even trying.
Exactly. Friendship kind of happens to you as a child. As an adult, you have to make it happen, and most people are too tired.
Or too scared. I think there's a fear of rejection thing too. Like if I ask someone to hang out and they say no, that stings in a different way than it did at 8 years old.
Because at 8, you just ask again tomorrow.
Yes, zero self-awareness, infinite resilience.
Children are terrifying, really.
Can I bring up something that kind of bothers me? The word friend in English is used for so many different levels of relationship.
Oh, absolutely. In many other languages, there are more distinctions.
Like, I have coworkers I like, people I follow online, people I went to school with who I still occasionally like photos of. Are those friends?
I'd call them acquaintances. People you are friendly with, but with whom there's no real depth.
Right. And I think a lot of adults confuse having a busy social life with having real friendships. You can go to a party every weekend and still feel lonely.
I think that's one of the more common but under-discussed forms of loneliness. You're surrounded by people, but no one actually knows you.
Yeah, that hits.
I prefer fewer, deeper friendships, quality over quantity.
See, and that's very James. I want both. I want my 4 close friends, and I want more people to grab coffee with spontaneously.
That sounds exhausting.
It is, but I'm a people person. What can I say?
Okay, so practically, how do people actually make friends as adults? Like, what has worked for you? Honestly, shared activities over time. The pottery class thing you mentioned, that works because you keep showing up. You're rebuilding that childhood repetition artificially.
Classes, sports teams, regular volunteer work?
Book clubs, running groups, even just being a regular at the same coffee shop at the same time.
I never thought about the coffee shop thing, but that's actually, yes, I have a coffee shop friend. We've never hung out outside of that place, but I genuinely look forward to seeing her.
And maybe that's enough. Maybe not every connection needs to become a deep friendship.
That's a good point. I think I used to feel like if we don't eventually become close, then what's the point?
But actually, a life full of warm, easy, low-maintenance connections is also a rich life.
Okay, that was almost poetic, James.
Almost.
Here's the part people don't talk about enough, though. To make a real friend, at some point, you have to be vulnerable.
You have to let someone see something real about you.
And as an adult, that feels risky. Like, kids don't think twice about crying in front of each other. But imagine crying in front of a new friend at 30.
I've done it, actually.
Really?
Really? Not proudly. There was a difficult period a few years ago, and a friend I'd only known for about 8 months was the one who showed up. That's when I knew it was real.
See, that is how friendships deepen. Someone shows up when it's inconvenient.
Or you let someone see you when you're not okay. Either direction.
I think a lot of adults are waiting for friendship to just happen, like it did when they were kids. But it doesn't anymore. You have to actually let people in.
Which is, to be fair, quite frightening.
Quite frightening, but worth it. So, do you feel like you have enough friends?
Most of the time, yeah. But there are days when I wish I had more people to call spontaneously.
You?
I feel settled. though I think I could stand to reach out more. I'm not great at initiating.
You don't say.
I'm working on it.
That's all any of us can do, really. Reach out a little more, say yes a little more, let people in a little more.
Even when it's frightening.
Especially when it's frightening.
That's all for today. If any of this resonated with you, the loneliness of adult friendships, or just the weird in-between stage of knowing someone but not quite being close, we'd love to hear about it in the comments.
And if you're watching and you feel like you could use more connection in your life, same, honestly. You're not alone in that.
If today's conversation was useful, a like genuinely helps more people find us, and subscribing means you'll catch our next episode.
Take care of yourselves, and maybe reach out to someone today, just to say hi.
It means more than you think.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. I'm Lily.
And I'm James. Really glad you're here with us today.
So last time we talked about making friends as an adult, how hard it is, what actually works, all of that.
And a lot of you responded to that one, quite emotionally, actually.
Which honestly didn't surprise me. It's one of those topics people don't talk about enough. So today, same world, different angle.
Today we're talking about what happens when a friendship ends. Not with a fight, not with a big dramatic moment.
Just quietly. When you outgrow someone, or they outgrow you. When you wake up one day and realize you haven't spoken in 8 months, and somehow that's just become normal.
Yeah, that one.
That one.
I actually thought about this recently because I ran into someone I used to be very close to. University friend. We were inseparable for about 3 years.
And now?
We nodded at each other outside a coffee shop and said we should catch up, and both of us knew we wouldn't.
Oh, that's a very specific kind of sad.
It is. And the strange thing was, I didn't feel guilty, which made me feel guilty later.
Right. The guilt about not feeling guilty.
Very human of us.
I think about this a lot, actually, because I have this folder on my phone. I call it my mental friendship folder, and there are people in there who used to be in my top 5, people I'd call first with good news. And now I can't even remember the last time we texted.
When do you think it started? The drift, I mean.
It's never one moment, is it? It's 100 tiny moments where you just didn't reach out. And then one day the distance is too big to feel comfortable crossing.
I want to pick apart this idea of outgrowing a friendship, though, because I think it gets used in a way that lets people off the hook a little too easily.
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes people say I outgrew them, when what they really mean is I got busy and didn't try. Those are different things.
That's fair, but I also think genuine outgrowing is real. Like, people change. Who you are at 22 is not who you are at 30. And sometimes the friendship was built on a version of you that doesn't really exist anymore.
So the friendship was real, it's just that the people have moved.
Exactly. It's not that anyone did anything wrong. You just evolved in different directions. And the overlap that used to exist, the shared values, the shared humor, the way you saw the world, it shrinks.
I had a friend like that. We met through a mutual love of a very specific type of music. That was the whole foundation of the friendship. And when I moved on from that phase, the conversations just became harder and harder to sustain.
Because the thing that connected you was gone.
And we were both pretending it wasn't for about a year before we just stopped.
I think that's the most common version, actually. Not a breakup, just a slow fade. A mutual, unspoken agreement to let it go.
Which is strange, isn't it? We have rituals for romantic breakups. We have conversations, closures, grief periods. But when a friendship ends, usually nothing. It just sort of evaporates.
Man, nobody checks on you about it. Can I tell you about someone specifically? Without saying who, obviously.
Of course.
So there was this girl, I'll call her M. We met freshman year of college. Same dorm floor. Within a week, we were inseparable. Same sense of humor, same taste in everything. We'd finish each other's sentences. I genuinely thought she'd be at my wedding one day.
What happened?
Honestly, life. She moved back to her home state after graduation. I stayed in the Bay. And at first, we FaceTimed every week. Then every 2 weeks. Then once a month. Then just birthdays. Then I missed her birthday one year because I had a work thing and I sent a late message and she was clearly hurt but said it was fine.
And it wasn't fine.
And it wasn't fine. And that was kind of the moment where the silence started feeling permanent instead of just like a pause.
Did you ever talk about it properly?
No, and I think that's what I still feel bad about. Not the drifting, I think we both let that happen, but not having the conversation. Not saying, hey, I feel like we're losing each other and I don't know what to do about it.
That's a hard conversation to start.
Incredibly hard. Because what if you have it and the other person says, actually, yeah, I think so too. That feels worse somehow than just fading.
I understand that. There's a protection in the ambiguity.
Exactly. As long as you never confirm the ending, it's not really over.
I had something similar, but in reverse. A friend who reached out to me after a long silence wanted to reconnect. And I realized, genuinely sitting with it, that I didn't want to. That whatever we'd had, I didn't miss it. And I didn't know what to do with that.
What did you do?
I responded warmly, kept it vague, let it fizzle out again, which I'm not particularly proud of.
I don't think you should be hard on yourself for that. Sometimes it's kinder to let someone down gently without a whole explanation.
Maybe. Or maybe I was just avoiding discomfort.
Both can be true. Here's something I actually wonder about. Do you owe a friend an explanation when you decide to step back? Or is it sometimes kinder to just let things go quietly? Ooh, that's a real question. I think it depends on the depth of the friendship.
Meaning?
Like, if someone was my best friend for 5 years and I suddenly stopped showing up, I think they deserve to know why. That feels like a basic respect thing. But if it's someone I was close to briefly and we naturally drifted, I don't think you need to schedule a friendship breakup conversation.
Friendship breakup conversation. Is that a thing?
It absolutely should be sometimes. I've heard of people doing it.
And how does that go? Hey, I wanted to let you know I'm phasing you out.
Not like that, but like, hey, I've noticed we've grown apart. I care about you and I wanted to be honest rather than just disappearing.
Considering, that's actually mature and terrifying.
Extremely terrifying, which is why nobody does it.
I think the fear is that you'll hurt the other person. And the irony is that ghosting them, even slowly, is usually more painful.
Because then they're left wondering, did I do something? Does she hate me? Is she just busy? The ambiguity is its own kind of cruelty.
I never thought of it that way. But yes, at least with clarity, the other person can grieve and move on.
Exactly. Closure is a gift, even when it's a hard one. Can we talk about the grief piece for a second? Because I genuinely think losing a friendship, even a quiet, slow loss, is a real grief. And it's one that nobody validates. How do you mean? Like, if you break up with a romantic partner, people rally around you. They take you out for dinner, they let you rant, they check in on you. But if you lose a close friend, people kind of just shrug. Oh, that's a shame, and move on.
Because we don't have a framework for it.
Right. It's not on the list of acceptable reasons to be sad. So people grieve it privately, or they don't let themselves grieve it at all. They just push it down and say, these things happen.
I did that with the university friend I mentioned earlier. I saw him, felt that strange, hollow feeling, and then told myself it was fine and ordered my coffee and went about my day.
But it wasn't fine.
It wasn't fine. I think about him sometimes. I miss who we were when we were friends, not necessarily who he is now. I don't really know who that is anymore, but the version of myself that existed in that friendship. That's what you lose too.
Oh, that's a really beautiful and sad way to put it.
Well, I have my moments.
You do. You absolutely do. I think that's actually the thing that makes friendship grief so specific. You're not just losing the person, you're losing a version of yourself, the self that existed in that relationship, the Lily who called Em every Sunday. She's gone too, in a way. And you can't get her back. Even if you rekindled the friendship, it wouldn't be the same relationship. You'd be starting fresh with the people you are now, which might be beautiful, but it's not the same. No, it's not the same. So how do you decide when it's worth fighting for versus when it's okay to let go? Honestly, I think the test is whether the distance is circumstantial or fundamental. Explain? Circumstantial distance is we live far apart, we're both really busy, life got complicated, we just haven't had the bandwidth. That's fixable with intention. You schedule the call, you buy the plane ticket, you show up.
And fundamental?
Fundamental is we've changed as people and we no longer actually enjoy each other's company. The values don't line up anymore, the humor doesn't land, conversations feel like work instead of rest.
And that's when you let go.
I think so. Not because anyone is bad, but because forcing a connection that isn't there naturally is exhausting for both people, and they can feel it too, even if nobody says it.
I'd add one more thing to the fight for it column. If the distance is caused by one specific unresolved thing, an argument that was never properly settled, a moment where someone felt let down and it was never addressed.
Because that's not drifting, that's a wound.
And wounds can be treated if both people are willing.
Have you ever gone back and addressed something like that?
Once, a friend I had a falling out with about 5 years ago, over something that seems quite petty now, a misunderstanding that got out of hand. We didn't speak for nearly a year. And then I sent a long message. Very long. Took me 3 drafts.
And?
We had a phone call that lasted 3 hours. And we're still friends now, different than before. More careful, maybe. But real.
See, that's the version I want more of. The one where people actually say the thing.
It requires being willing to be embarrassed or rejected, which is why most people don't do it.
But when it works,
it's worth every bit of the discomfort. I think what I'm taking from this conversation is be more intentional, both about holding on and about letting go.
yeah, I think the passive approach to friendship, where you just let things happen or not happen, feels easier, but it costs you. You lose people without meaning to, or you hold on to connections that are draining you because you never stop to ask whether they still fit. And check in with yourself. Not just, am I maintaining the friendship, but do I actually still feel connected to this person? Do I still want to? That's a hard question than it sounds. Much harder. Can I say something a little cheesy? You can always say something cheesy. I'll just look slightly pained. Okay, so I'm really grateful for friendships that have lasted, even the ones that change shape. And I think the ones worth fighting for always have this quality of you can pick up where you left off, even after months, even after a hard conversation. There's a baseline of ease there that doesn't go away.
Yes, I agree with that. Some people you cannot speak to for a year and then sit across from and feel immediately like yourself again. And some people you can talk to every week and still feel vaguely like you're performing.
I know exactly which category you fall into.
Likewise.
That's all for today. I hope this one felt honest. It did for me. If you've ever quietly lost someone you cared about, I want you to know that feeling is real and it matters, even if nobody told you it was okay to feel it.
If there's someone you've been meaning to reach out to, an old friend, someone you let drift, maybe today is the day. The worst they can say is that they're not in a place for it. And even then, you'll know you tried.
And if you're watching this on your lunch break feeling a little emotional, completely valid.
Completely valid.
If today's conversation meant something to you, a like helps more people find us. And we put out a new episode every week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
Until next time.
Take care of yourselves. And take care of each other.